Welcome to my channel, a safe place where we can dive into the strange and mysterious, true crime, makeup, and chill, with new videos every Tuesday.
Warning, viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is our safe space to talk true crime while I do my makeup at the same time. Now, how have you been? I've been good. I've been busy. I've been working. I've been twerking. I'm sorry, but I'm really unorganized this week. This video is late. Hey, ADHD things. I got a chance to watch that new show, Dear Bobby, on Netflix. Have you seen it? It's pretty good. It's sad. Some people are just crazy, right? How can you catfish someone for that long? I won't spoil it for you because it's a good show, and if you haven't seen it, see it. It's pretty good, but yeah, that's my life. Dear Bobby, children, husband. It's all a blur. This is one of those stories that is hard to believe. Like really, 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 really hard to believe. I can't help but sit here and like question what I'm about to tell you, but let's get stuck into it. All the products I'll be using will be in the description below. So imagine, right, one day waking up and speaking a language you didn't even know, then saying some crazy shit like you're somebody else, someone who's been dead for months. This bizarre scenario unfolded with Remi Chua in 1977. She claimed to be possessed by a woman named Teresita Basa. Now, I can't say her name without an accent because can you imagine if I said it in like an Aussie accent? Teresita Basa. So yeah, you're going to hear me calling her Teresita Basa throughout this whole video. You got to pronounce it right, you know, like let it roll off your tongue. Teresita Basa. I love the way it sounds. Teresita. So I know that sounds crazy, right? Well, get this. This Remi woman started revealing details about Teresita's murder that was impossible for her to know. She was mentioning things that the police had never mentioned to the public. So was there more to the strange case than met the eye? Again, this is the strangest, most unbelievable, chilling true crime story on the internet. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? All right, let me know. So Teresita Basa was born 1929 in the Philippines. In her 30s, she migrated to the US, you know, the land of opportunity, to begin her studies in music. Eventually, she settled in Chicago, Illinois, and later became a respiratory nurse at Edgewater Hospital. She was described by people as the most kind, hardworking, modest woman who, when she said that she was going to do something, she would get it done. You could always rely on Teresita. Her patients were looked after just like children, you know, like how a mother looks after their child. They were in really good care. If she was your respiratory nurse, you were super lucky. She was such a good woman that it was just practically impossible to not like her. February 21st, 1977 started like any other day for Teresita Basa. She went to work at Edgewater Hospital. Teresita left work around 5:30 p.m. just like always. She went home to her high-rise apartment, and around 7:30 p.m. she called her friend Ruth. They talked for about half an hour, but Ruth could sense that something was off. Teresita mentioned that there was a man coming over, which was unusual, but she didn't say who he was. She just said that he was coming over to fix her TV, right? The call ended quickly, leaving Ruth feeling uneasy. Who was this mystery person that Teresita was waiting for? As the night went on, everything seemed normal in Teresita's building. But around 8:30 p.m., people started to smell smoke. At first, no one knew where it was coming from. Everyone got worried and started looking around. Finally, they figured out that it was coming from apartment 15B, Teresita's apartment. The fire department came fast and gained entry into 15B with the help from the janitor who unlocked Teresita's door. The firefighters rushed in, ready to fight the flames, but something felt off. The smoke was thick, yet once inside, they noticed that the fire was coming from a mattress that was on the floor that looked like it had been set alight. Underneath was what appeared to be a pile of clothes. So when you looked at the mattress, it had kind of like a hump in it. So the officers, they put out the flames and then moved the mattress to the side. As the smoke cleared, a goosebump kind of quiet fell over the scene. The firefighters looked at each other confused. Their gut feelings told them that something wasn't right. One of the firefighters looked closer at the pile of clothes on the floor that was under the mattress and realized it wasn't just a pile of clothes after all. It was Teresita's naked body and she was deceased. Teresita was 48 at the time of her death. This wasn't just smoke inhalation, it was way worse. Her body was charred from the burning mattress, and sadly, she still had the murder weapon lodged in her chest. Teresita had been stabbed multiple times, causing her death. Officers initially believing that there was a possibility of sexual assault because of the way that Teresita's body was found. The firefighters, they're usually there to save lives, but now they stood in the middle of a brutal crime scene. They called for backup, and soon the place was crawling with police and investigators. As experts examined the scene, they found something super surprising. The autopsy showed Teresita hadn't been sexually assaulted after all. This only made things even more confusing. I mean, if that wasn't the reason, why would somebody do this to this beautiful woman that everyone described as quiet and kind? It didn't look like a robbery because all of Teresita's valuables were still inside the apartment, like her TV and money and stuff was still there. The violence seemed so out of place with Teresita's life. She was loved by patients and respected by co-workers. It just didn't make any sense. Investigators searched high and low within the burned apartment, but found almost nothing to go on. The fire had destroyed most clues like fingerprints, fibers, hair. It was all gone. But then a tiny bit of hope in the mess. They found a small piece of paper that had survived. On it was a note and it said, "Get theatre tickets for AS." This note didn't seem important, but with so little to work with, investigators latched onto it and they had to figure out who this AS was. Now, as time passed, the case went really nowhere. Detectives talked to everyone who knew Teresita, but couldn't find a suspect. As with most cases, the partner is always thoroughly investigated, and that was no different in this case. Teresita's partner became the first and only real suspect. The couple had been reported by friends to argue a lot and bicker, but I mean, that doesn't always mean they are a killer. Sometimes, but not always. I bickered the shit out of my man. He's still alive. The police, they couldn't find anything out of the ordinary with her boyfriend, and he was cleared as a suspect. The violence inflicted towards Teresita suggested that it was someone close to her, but Teresita kept good company, and no one in her life seemed to be capable of something so awful. The Chicago Police Department got more and more frustrated. They had a shocking crime scene that scared the community, endangered the residents within the apartments. Like, what if the entire building caught fire? It's scary to think, hey. But again, there were no leads, no suspects, and no clear reason why this happened to Teresita. The odd note about the theatre tickets was all they really seemed to have, and it seemed to lead nowhere. Well, right now. No one knew it, but the answer to this baffling case would come from somewhere so unexpected, so bizarre that it would challenge everything the investigators thought they knew about solving crimes. Teresita Basa's murder was about to become one of the most talked about cases Chicago had ever seen. Detective Joseph Statula was assigned to Teresita's case. Statula noticed some strange things right away at her apartment. Like, firstly, no one had broken in, so Teresita probably knew who killed her. The fire, it wasn't just random. No, no, no. It looked like it was set to destroy specific parts of the crime scene. And the way Teresita's body was positioned was also just super odd. The experts that they brought in said that this wasn't just some random attack. The killer knew what they were doing and tried hard to cover up their tracks. As the 1 year mark of Teresita's murder got closer, Statula started to worry the case might go cold. The limits of 1970s police work, it didn't help. No DNA analysis, no fancy fingerprint machine, no computer databases, just good old-fashioned legal work and gut feelings. Statula was so determined to solve the case that it completely consumed him. He would wake up at night thinking that he'd figured it out. He'd drive past Teresita's old apartment hoping that some answer might just appear. But just when all hope seemed lost, something so unexplainable, so strange was about to happen. And it would make Statula questioned everything he thought he knew about solving crimes. And where this lead came from ended up turning the whole investigation upside down. Before I go on, do you guys remember these? Hang on, let me just move all my stuff. Do you remember these? I love these books. My sister actually gave me a couple of these, and I'm like sitting there. These books. Do you remember? Let me know in the comments. Now, sis, you might think you've heard every twist a murder investigation can take, but this one will blow your mind. Like, how far would you go to solve a crime? Would you believe a ghost if it told you who the killer was? Dr. Jose Chua and his wife Remibias, or Remy, were an ordinary Filipino couple living in suburban Chicago. Remy was a co-worker of Teresita at the Edgewater Hospital. Jose and Remy's evenings were just normal, quiet. Dinner, maybe some TV, just casual chats about their day. But something weird started happening to Remy shortly after Teresita had been murdered. Oh, man, that feels good. That feels so good. Now, something really weird had happened to Remy shortly after Teresita had been murdered. She began having these unexplainable encounters. It began with just simple dreams, cool, dreaming of Teresita, whatever, sad, but doable. And then they manifested into real life. For example, right, she had a double shift at the hospital. Well, during her work break, she went and sat in the nurse's lounge and fell asleep. This was like a power nap, quick, lay down, rest, close your eyes. You know what a power nap is. When Remy opened her eyes, right in front of her was a woman. But not like how you see me. You can clearly see me. She could clearly tell that this wasn't human form. She was a ghost or a spirit. And this woman was Teresita. Remy rubbed her eyes, thinking that maybe she was still half asleep or something. But when she looked back up, Teresita was gone. Remy just brushed it off, like maybe she was just tired, burnt out, and overworked. Then the dreams and random sightings of Teresita intensified for Remy. It started like any other evening for Jose and Remy. They were at home, but Remy wasn't feeling well. I mean, she had worked another really long shift and was just relaxing at home. The clock ticked softly, and they could hear the neighbor's TV through the open window. Everything seemed normal. But then, out of nowhere, Remy stood up, walked to her bedroom. She then laid on the floor with a blank expression on her face. Suddenly, Remy, she went stiff. Her eyes rolled back and she started speaking in a voice that wasn't hers. Jose watched terrified as his wife seemed to be having a fit of some kind. Never did they think that she was being taken over by someone or something else. The voice coming from Remy's mouth was speaking Tagalog with a Spanish accent, something Jose recognized but knew his wife couldn't speak it. Do you know, I read this news article as well just yesterday, and this news article was saying that there's this new syndrome where, like, you can, what is it called? I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll look it up and I'll pop it like down here in the corner or something. But it's where you go to sleep and you wake up with a different accent. Like this woman that was in this news article, she went to sleep. I can't remember where she was from, maybe Germany. But when she woke up, she had an Irish accent. Weird, right? That stuff blows my mind. Jose then asked his wife, like, if she was okay, and she responded, "Doctor, I would like to ask your help. The man who murdered me is still at large." Oh no. I've got this on my hand, and when I was like shocked, I got it all over me. Yeah. I hope it comes out. Anyway, it was believed that this interaction between Jose and Remy, or whoever it was, went on for about half an hour. He asked who he was talking to, and she answered, "I am Teresita Basa." Supposedly, Jose had no idea who Teresita was at the time, and she went on to say, "I'm Teresita Basa, the murdered woman from the news." The voice continued, revealing details about the night of February 21st, 1977. You know, the night that Teresita was killed. "He came to my apartment," the voice said through Remy. "We were friends. I trusted him, but he killed me. He stabbed me. And then he took my jewelry, my pearl ring." Then came the shocking revelation. The voice said a name. "Alan Showery. He's the one who killed me," it insisted. "He works at the hospital. He's the one you're looking for." Teresita's spirit wanted justice. I believe she cared for people so much that she was trying to protect everyone in death as she did in life. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. And then after that, it was over. Remy blinked, looked around confused, and had no memory of what happened. Man, this, I've read it 1,000 times, and every time I read it, I was still like, what do you guys think? I'm so like eager to jump in comments when you see this, just so I can hear what you guys think. I think this is just wild. I mean, what are they going to do now? It's not like, well, they can go to the police, but will the police laugh at them? Will they dismiss them? Will they blame them for tampering with the investigation? I don't know. But that would be such a tough call to make, especially with who they were in the community, working in the hospitals and stuff. But on the other hand, if what the voice said was true, could they really keep quiet? That's a tough one. The Chuas couldn't sleep. They were trying to figure out what to do. They had information that could solve a murder, but their story sounded crazy. How could they explain that Remy had been possessed by Teresita Basa's spirit? Did you know that in Filipino culture, the idea of spirits talking to the living isn't that strange? Many believe it can happen, especially with unresolved issues like murder. But would the Chicago police buy into that? As time passed, the Chuas felt more and more pressure when they were visited again through possession of Remy. But this time, she was a little pissed because Jose and Remy still hadn't gone to the police with the information given to them by Teresita's spirit. I mean, you can't blame them. Imagine being an officer listening to someone telling you their story. It'd be like, what? 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 Teresita's spirit asked Jose, like, why didn't you go to the police? Jose responded, I can't help you if police can't help you, and they need clear physical evidence. So Teresita said, I can give you proof. She went on to tell Jose Alan had taken her jewelry after killing her and gave it to his girlfriend. That's freaking crazy. Before ending the conversation, she reiterated like how important it was that Jose went to the police to tell them about what she had told him. They knew they had to do something. Now, if the voice was right, a killer named Alan Showery was out there, free, doing who knows what. Have you ever been so sure of something, yet so afraid to tell anyone? The Chuas found themselves trapped between two impossible choices: risk being called crazy or let a killer go free. I know which one I'd be choosing. I don't mind people calling me cray cray. Jose and Remy Chua weren't psychics or mediums, they were just regular people caught in an extraordinary situation. After many debates and sleepless nights, they made their decision. They'd reach out to the detective Joseph Stachula, the lead investigator on the case. As Jose dialed the police station, his hand was shaking. He wondered how Stachula would react. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Jose's heart pounded harder with each ring. This was it, the moment of truth. As someone picked up, he took a deep breath. Hello, he said. My name is Jose Chua. I have some information about the Teresita murder case. You might not believe me, but please just hear me out. Detective Joseph Stachula hung up the phone with Dr. Chua. He was almost in a state of shock. A ghost telling someone about a murder? It sounded crazy. And I promise you, this is a true story. Now, Stachula, he knew that he was at a turning point. His gut told him there might be something in this wild story, even if his rational mind wanted to dismiss it. He decided to keep this unusual tip quiet for now. A few discreet calls later confirmed that Alan Showery, he wasn't just real. He worked at the same hospital as Teresita Basa. Hey, I need that. Stachula felt a chill. He dug deeper and more pieces fell into play. Get this. Showery lived near Teresita's apartment, and according to co-workers at the hospital, Alan had been seen planning to visit Teresita on the night of the murder to repair her TV. Alan also had a criminal record of robbery and assault. I mean, it was all circumstantial, but it was more than that they've had in months. Statula knew that he was walking a fine line. If this turned out to be nothing, it could be the end of his career, but he had a duty to follow every lead, no matter how strange. As he prepared to confront Showery, Statula marveled at the bizarre turn of events from going from a cold case to a potential breakthrough, all because of a supposed ghost. And now it was time to see if Alan Showery had any skeletons in his closet. Detective Statula questioned Alan Showery, ready for what would become an intense psychological battle. As they sat down, Statula kept his tone casual. Mr. Showery, I'm here to ask you about your co-worker, Teresita Basa. You knew her, right? Showery, he nodded. Yes, we worked together at the hospital. Terrible what happened to her. Statula watched Showery closely, looking for any signs of guilt. At first, Showery seemed perfectly at ease. Statula revealed more information about the night of the murder and the missing jewelry. You know, Alan, Statula said, leaning forward, we have a witness who places you at Teresita's apartment that night. It was a bluff, but Statula saw a flicker of fear in Showery's eyes. The psychological game was on. As the questioning continued, Showery's story began to shift. He went from claiming he'd never been to Teresita's apartment to admitting that he had visited Teresita to fix her TV, but had forgotten his tools and then left to go and get them. Going by what he was told by Jose about Showery giving Teresita's jewelry to his girlfriend, he called Showery's girlfriend in for questioning. He requests that the girlfriend bring in any jewelry boxes that she might have at home. So she does exactly what Statula asks. He's so smart. You know what he does next? He then asks Teresita's relatives to come in to see if they can spot any jewelry out of these boxes that might have belonged to Teresita. Now, it didn't take long before the family began to point out all these different pieces of jewelry. There was like a jade necklace and rings, just so many different items. And when she was asked where she got these items of jewelry from, you already know what her response is. Mr. A.S. Allen. Busted big time. The floodgates opened. Alan Showery broke down, admitting that he had returned to Teresita's apartment with his tools to rob her, and things had spiraled out of control. While he was working on the TV, Teresita had her back towards Alan, and that's when he attacked her, choked her, and stabbed her before taking her nightgown off and staging the scene. It is believed that he was behind in his rent and needed money. Also, that note that was found on the notepad, get theatre tickets for AS, while the two did communicate at work, she was a kind, lovely woman, and Teresita was planning to get Alan tickets as a gift, and he went and did this to this defenseless, poor, kind-hearted woman. Well, she sure showed him. That's a tongue twister. She sure showed him. She sure showed him who was defenseless. As the jeweler placed Showery under arrest, he felt a mix of triumph and sadness. The confession brought closure to months of investigation, but Statula knew that this was just the beginning. They still had to build a solid case for court. In the back of his mind, a question lingered. How much of a role did Teresita's ghost really play in solving her own murder? With Showery in handcuffs and a confession on record, it looked like justice for Teresita was a sure thing. But hold on, because the wildest part of the story was still to come. When Teresita's family heard about Shaori's arrest, they felt a huge wave of relief. The prosecutors were feeling pretty good too. They had the confession, the jewelry, and a clear motive. It seemed like an easy win. But then Shaori shocked everyone by pleading not guilty. Suddenly, the prosecution realized that they were in for a real fight. Their biggest problem? How to deal with the whole spirit possession thing that led to Shaori's arrest. I mean, how could you bring that up in court without sounding crazy? So the prosecution didn't actually use the ghost story in court, but nonetheless, it got them to the court in the first place. The trial lasted 8 long days. Both sides made their cases, with the defense trying hard to make the jury doubt the weird way that Shaori got caught. The jury listened closely, but their faces didn't give away what they were thinking. After 13 hours of intense discussion, the jury came back, but instead of a clear verdict, they dropped a bombshell. They were deadlocked. The trial ended with a hung jury, leaving everyone in shock. So this was a huge blow. Teresita's family, who'd been hoping for closure, now had to face the nightmare all over again. The prosecutors, who had been so sure of themselves, had to wonder if their case wasn't as strong as what they thought. As everyone left the courtroom, one big question hung in the air. In a case this bizarre, where the truth was stranger than fiction, how could justice ever be served? The fight for Teresita wasn't over, and things were about to get even crazier. The hung jury left the case in a state of limbo, and now the prosecution faced a tough decision. What were they going to do next? Behind closed doors, intense talk started between the prosecutors and Shaori's defense team. You could cut the tension with a knife. Both sides were trying to find a way out of this mess. That's when a controversial solution came up: a plea bargain. The prosecution would offer Shaori a deal: plead guilty to a lesser charge for a shorter sentence. It wasn't ideal, but it seemed like the only way to make sure Shaori paid for what he did. When Teresita's family and the Chuas heard about this, they were furious. How could a killer get off so easy? Remy, who'd gone through those weird possessions, felt like they were letting Teresita down. Back in the courtroom, the prosecutors' faces were grim as they prepared to announce the deal. In a moment no one would ever forget, Alan Shaori pleaded guilty to murdering Teresita Basa. His sentence: 14 years in prison. It felt like a punch to the gut for many who thought he deserved way worse, which he did, might I add. The courtroom exploded with emotions: relief, anger, disappointment. It was all there. Teresita's family had fought so long for justice, and this felt incomplete. With the trial done, people started wondering what come next. How would this wild case change the way we look at criminal investigation? The Teresita Basa case took the media by storm, grabbing headlines across Chicago and beyond. Experts from all over weighed in, and man, did they disagree. Psychologists, ghost hunters, and legal experts all had something to say about the psychic evidence. Some thought Remy Chua was just making it up, or maybe knew more than she let on. The details she gave were just so specific. You know, the name, the ticket, makes you question, doesn't it? The Teresita Basa case became famous in the world of ghost stories and psychic stuff. Remy Chua found herself famous overnight. Detective Stachula had to wrap his head around solving a crime in a way that he had never expected. Just when everyone thought the story was over, boom. Alan Shaori, the guy convicted of killing Teresita, got out on parole after only 4 years. Can you believe it? He was supposed to serve 14 years. This news hits hard. Teresita's family and friends were shocked. It felt like a slap in the face, you know? In the end, Teresita Basa's case left us with more questions than answers. It pushed the limits of what we're thinking is possible in solving crimes and makes you wonder what mysteries are out there just waiting to be discovered. Not that I'm a skeptic, but it's just hard to just, what am I trying to say? If you can't see it, then how did it happen? But I don't know. I don't know. What I do know though, sis, is if it's true, right? If this did happen, Teresita is a boss for solving her own murder. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, sis. I hope you enjoyed my company as much as I enjoyed yours. If you liked this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. And if you really, really liked it, maybe you can hit the subscribe button so we can hang out again. Well, that's it from me. But I'll see you next Tuesday. Ever since I moved my videos to Tuesday, I have been waiting for my moment to use that line. Anyway, have a safe and happy week. And remember, you take care out on those streets, girl. Hey sis, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. You know, we can keep hanging out if you want. All you have to do is tap this true crime and makeup playlist.